In episode 2, when I talk about paths of power, I want to talk about safety. I think having the initial conversation about power and how it can be explored or should be explored, the principal first issue, if you're looking further into this, has to be safety. Now, I think we need to begin talking about safety with what you've experienced in your upbringing. Because I think there's two sort of ends of the spectrum that you might sort of find your way into discussions or experiencing power, and one is probably better than the other, and there's going to be a lot of variations in between. I'm not saying these are the parameters within which you might experience power, experience safety, or a lack of it. I'm like anyone talking, I'm going to be talking from personal experience for a lot of the time. Other stuff I've researched or stuff I have witnessed. I think what I may do following this video is tap on a little video just to mention some books that have helped me along my way, that I don't know, you might want to consider. You might have already read. You might have read other things as well that are better or worked for you. At the end of the day, what I'm talking about is, I don't know, opening a door or considering walking through the door, but only you can do that if that's what you want to do. You don't have to do it, but I do feel the compulsion to hopefully create some debate and angles to look into to help yourself or to help others. But anyway, upbringing. Now, I think it's probably at the worst end of the scale. There's to talk about power is probably exposure to fear of that sort of power, and the fact that that probably makes you vulnerable to it, because some religions will say that you are touched by the devil, or it is reinforced that as human beings that exist in multiple levels that not even science can still explain at present day, that we should be afraid of our potential. And some religions forcibly sort of push you away from that. And for young people particularly, I mean, I'm talking about children that have sight or gifts not sort of stamped out of them yet, not being able to understand them, not being nurtured to be able to understand them, and living in an environment of fear, I think it could be quite terrifying, because things that seem natural and could be nurtured are being stifled and suppressed, and this can create danger. It can create an unhappy home, on one level. On another level, it can unrestrained power, if you don't understand it, or you're gonna sort of see the darkness, you're gonna see the dark energies, and they can and probably will latch on to someone open, spiritually open. They're going to be vulnerable to influences from outside forces that you don't want influencing people who are untrained. Now, I want to say is, I'm not going to say that in that environment you cannot learn to deal with your power. I just think that sort of it's not going to be done without risk or danger or having terrible experiences. I would sort of say that in my life, certainly when I was younger, there were some experiences I would rather have not had I been more aware of what might have been the cause of them. It doesn't help that I was a very shy person and didn't talk much. I didn't express my opinions much. I was just, I don't know, not quite in a environment of fear, but I certainly didn't have wasn't in an environment where there were people that might have considered listening or nurturing power. I say, obviously, the alternate sort of option to your upbringing is to be in an environment where it's nurtured, and this sort of probably being having parents or guardians or people looking out for you who are already on a different path that's not sort of, what should we say, the mainstream sort of belief systems, certainly in England, maybe in the States, because they've already walked this path, or they're sort of already willing to consider that there are sort of alternatives to giving your power away or being fearful of the power, and encouraging you to sort of exercise it, and probably being surrounded or having people looking over you, watching over you, helping you, you're going to be in a much better place. And this is why sort of safety has to be paramount, and that comes from considering what you are doing and having people around you that can look after you, or sort of help you control some of the basics of power that I'm talking about, which is to sort of close yourself down from outside influences, to open yourself up, to be in control of it, and to sort of cleanse yourself of negative power, negative influence. And this again is something that brings me back to what is my growing theory, that there's a growing sort of increase in people struggling with mental health. And let me put my hands up here and say, I am not a doctor, but I don't think science or drugs can solve this either. It can to a degree. Obviously, people take sort of drugs to sort of suppress depression or other mental health issues. And I don't want to say that isn't the path, because you're all entitled to choose your own path. What I would like to see and like to encourage is people considering that it could be something that is spiritual, and that, I say, science can't quantify this, but there's too much belief and experience to dismiss it, and for people to consider, just consider exploring this as an avenue. Because I do feel that I think a lot of people are vulnerable because they're open and they don't know it, they can't control it, and the dark influences are feeding off of your struggle. And they want you to struggle, and they want to nurture that struggle. It doesn't matter what condition you are, they will make you suffer for as long as possible so that they can continue to feed off of you, to devour your negative energies, your suffering. And this is why really safety as the next step, or the first step, has to be the priority. Now obviously this is one of those instances where sort of if you go the unnurtured path where you master this alone, or sort of get to the point where you take steps to look into it and find someone who can help you, that is great. Because I would say, and it's the old sort of saying, that which does not kill you just makes you stronger. And this can apply physically, mentally, and spiritually. Don't take steps alone if you don't have to. I mean, sort of, that's got to be your driving principle. Now, what can you expect in terms of exercising safety? I think they're quite simple, because what you'll probably find in most practices that are helping someone explore their power is, as usual, they'll begin. It's something that should always begin with very simple things. Certainly, the circle I was a member of a long time ago, we started with the simple things, which was to gather, to be quiet, to sort of focus your mind. I mean, even with martial arts, they'll insist some of the most breathing, deep breaths, and to prepare your mind for the journey it has to take. And then sort of what will normally happen, and it takes some belief as well, and you might not get that straight away. Again, referring back to my first video, it's sort of managing expectation. It's a case of meditation, breathing, and being able to close down or open your aura, your power, whatever you want to call it, because we live in this wonderful world, this magnificent world, where there are multiple faiths, multiple beliefs, where they kind of move around the same sort of ideas, just expressed in different fashions, different practices. For some people, they might say that what I'm talking about is magic. Other people will say that particularly if they are, say, do not believe in a god or gods, will consider it being maybe psychic powers. They're not critical. The name you give it isn't critical. It's the how you handle it, and then sort of continue on your path. Again, if I was to talk personally from it up until this year in particular, I would say I was very much from I did not believe in a god or gods. I was always wanting to believe, but I wasn't there yet, and that's my path, because now I'm on a path where I have been shown my way, and the changes to my life this year have been quite remarkable. But I don't want to talk about me too much, so I'm going to sort of cut away from that and just sort of reinforce the idea that safety is important, and if you want to look into this and you don't have a support network, look for one. They are out there, and we've got this wonderful age of social media that can be used for good. It's not always good. Obviously, there's a lot of, let's just call them negative forces. I don't want to just look into it, research, approach someone, sound them out before you start practicing with them, and keep your eyes open and see how you get on. But always be considerate, in principle, of your safety, because there's things out there they want to get at you, They want you to struggle. They want you to suffer. And you need to be protected from it. So I think that's where I'm going to end this video on safety. I hope I've covered what I think are the basics without waffling on too much. Let's say having people at your back, always good. It doesn't have to be an organised society like Asatru UK. It could be just a small group of friends with a kindred. I mean, I should say a hi to my good friends that I've made this year. We are forming into our own kindred, and again, it doesn't have to be a kindred. It could be a circle. It could just be a few of you practicing in with someone who can give you pointers and encourage you to be safe. Control it. Be in control. Gain control. And make your path from there. And enjoy exploring whatever it is. There are some great exercises you can do, and some of them will work. Some of them are not going to work for you. Just enjoy doing it and make your way as you walk it. So, the Path of Power, episode 2, safety, concluded, I think. Thank you very much. Let's be safe out there.